Welcome to Business in the Black, the podcast where ideas become plans, plans become actionable items, and actionable items become results. Business in the Black is the go-to podcast for aspiring and established Black entrepreneurs looking to build, grow, and sustain successful businesses. Each episode dives into the inspiring journeys of Black-owned businesses, highlighting their triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned. Whether you're thinking about taking the leap into entrepreneurship or are already running a business, we provide expert advice on essential topics like funding, marketing, operations, and scaling. Our mission is to empower and uplift the Black business community by sharing knowledge, resources, and success stories. Tune in for motivation, practical strategies, and a network of support to help you turn your vision into reality and amplify Black excellence in business. I am your host, Brandon D. Morgan. Let's jump right in. Dr. Augustus Nathaniel Lushington, Dr. Frederick Douglass Patterson, Dr. Alfreda Johnson Webb, Dr. Jane Hinton, Dr. Iverson C. Bell. These aren't just names, they're legacies. They stepped into a field that wasn't built for them, and still they made room, not just for themselves, but for all of us who would follow. They didn't just treat animals, they opened doors, broke barriers, and refined what was possible. Black. Today we have Dr. Christine James. Dr. James is a veterinarian, and she's been a veterinarian for 28 years. That is like, right.
Your first thing is, wait, you raised your child and did medical school?
Right.
Absolutely. What I wanted for myself was legacy for my children. I know this is something you were meant to do, because I haven't met another veterinarian who is actually concerned about my pet and making sure that my pet gets what they need. And this is why when you change practices, when you move locations, I follow you. Woo, woo.
Okay. So, how do you, we've talked a lot about, just make sure you talk about PTO a lot,
Yes.
Making sure that you take time off, making sure that you protect yourself, and take care of yourself. So how do you model that work-life balance deal with your employees, knowing how deeply involved in the practice you really need to be?
Part of that is getting to know my employees, and not necessarily like getting in their business, but you get to know them, you get to know what they're passionate about, what they enjoy doing, what are some of their extracurricular activities they enjoy doing, and helping them find time to do those things. I have an employee that likes to play soccer. And so certain nights of the week, she's in like an intramural soccer league.
Yeah.
And, if she works to the end of her shift that day, she may miss the first game.
Right.
So trying to tailor her schedule so she gets time to go and be a part of her soccer team, because at the end of the day, that makes her happy.
Right.
She's happier and sore when she comes to work the next day after playing soccer, but she got to do something she wanted to do that she might have otherwise not had the time to do. That I have somebody that gets to they get to fill both cups,
Right.
and be there for me, and then get to be there for themselves and their team when they're playing soccer. So I do want to make sure that my employees have time to do the things that are important to them, that help fill their cup. Hey, they want to go visit a family member, or a family member's, really ill, and they need to take that time off. Hey, go take care of your family.
Yeah.
How much time do you need? Because you're sitting here being concerned about them. My job is not your focus.
Right.
And if that's what you're focusing on, I need you to go focus on that. And then let's come back. We'll bring it back once you're past that Period. Come on back and let's refocus and let's get back to it. Absolutely. Because there were times when I probably shouldn't have been at work, but I was there.
So a minute ago, you talked about, the different charities and the travels and all the things with the different community groups and different things that you work with. So I know you work quarterly for the Greater Good Charities, providing free surgical skills in places like Oklahoma, Puerto Rico, and Texas. And that's your time to give back a minute ago. Like I said, you talked about the spay and neutering and all the things. But how do these experiences refresh your perspective on your daily practice?
So they give me the opportunity to fill my cup. Originally, when I decided I wanted to become a veterinarian, it was to help people who didn't know or didn't have the resources to see a veterinarian. I've actually been in communities where pets have never seen a veterinarian. People have never taken their pet to a veterinarian. They're not unsure of what a veterinarian does or what our responsibilities are. And to have that service given to them and given to their pets, they are more than thankful. They're so happy that somebody is caring about their pet and providing a service that they otherwise didn't know about. So that really fills my cup and it energizes me, and I come back and I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's take care of more pets.
Now, you also mentioned legacy multiple times. We know that you have kids, you have 3 daughters, and they're your motivation. So what specific legacy are you hoping to create for both your children and for your Black and brown communities?
Part of what I want to create as far as legacy is I want to provide the community with someone that they can look to and see what's possible, number one. A lot of times, if you can't see yourself or someone that looks like you, it's hard to imagine what's possible. So I want to be a picture of what's possible. My parents were divorced. I was raised principally by my mother. As I mentioned earlier, I started college at 16, went through medical school with a child. It's what's possible. And it's, of course, not all on my own being. It's what's possible with God carrying me. Because there were days when I had no idea how I was going to make it to the next day, how I was going to feed my child the next day, what was going to come next, and God provided. Not knowing, can I continue in school, and God provided. So a lot of the legacy is being that face in the community where somebody can say, I see my experience in her, and this is where she is. And not necessarily becoming a veterinarian, but she is successful, she is professional, and she did not allow the circumstances that she was in to stop her from becoming who she is now.
Wow.
And for my children, the legacy I want to leave for them is, so there's so many facets to it. First of all, you don't have to stay stuck. Move. Make a move. Get out there. Take that step. Take a chance. If it doesn't work out, pick up your boots, change your shoes, start that journey again. There's always time to do something over, better, different, in a new environment. There's always a different chance out there. We tend to look at the doors that were closed in our lives as this is the end, instead of saying this is a chance to start again and do something new. And a lot of times doors get closed because another door needs to open. I was speaking with a friend of mine one time, and I said, if I put something in your hand and I give it to you to hold, and you're holding on to it, and I got something bigger I want to give to you, if you holding on to that, I can't give you more. You got to let it go. and then I can hand you more.
Right.
And so at some point we have to learn to let some things go that are not working for us in order to get more.
Right.
And just showing my children that I had to tell you that my career was on a downward spiral would be not telling the truth. I was moving in my career in corporate America, and I stepped away. And I think it was one of the better decisions I've made in my life. It has given me a lot more time to reflect, a lot more time with my children. My last one finished high school this year, and just having that time to be with her, help her make her decisions and talk through college and where she's going and what she wants to do, and having the time to have those conversations, because I'm not coming home tired and I'm not being interrupted by 1,000 phone calls.
Right.
And showing them how important it is to be there. To be there. If I'm spending all my time making money, I can't be there for them.
Right.
So finding that balance. The other part of legacy is if something happens where I cannot physically practice medicine, I have a business that's running that can provide in my stead for my children.
Yep.
And that's part of the legacy. Because if something happens to me and I'm working for corporate America, and once I can't work for corporate America anymore, all I'm left with is disability.
Yeah.
And that's not going to take care of my children.
I've already alluded to you having a farm at your house, so the people already know. But in any case, and you call yourself what kind of farmer?
It's a hobby.
A hobby farmer.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, in any case, this is a way to have like self-sufficiency. And so, you raise chicken, quail, and thinking about like survival needs. I know you have eggs that you eat out of your own chicken.
Yes.
And all of that. I mean, it's very fascinating. I mean, although it's, it's a thing. I mean, hey, go get it how you live. But in any case, how does this preparedness mindset influence your approach to business resilience?
So, my farm, as you so call
Yeah.
it, it's not a farm.
They had goats and everything. I just didn't mention them. But
I have turkeys, I have quail, and I have chickens. And the idea is, if we should get into a situation like COVID again, that I'm able to provide my own eggs, my own meat, help myself, my community, family members, provide food, and to sustain them during that period of time. And it just grew as a hobby. I actually love my chickens. So part of that hobby is not gonna work. Like if I plan to eat my chickens, I don't know how we're gonna do that.
It's gonna be rough.
It's gonna be rough. But I have the ability to provide food for my family and grow food for my family. And I don't mean like my nuclear family, but my extended family, my community, if need be. With that being said, it's the same thing in business. Like I'm doing a profession that I like and providing for my community in ways that if things get to a point where there's a need in the community, there's some outreach that needs to be given, that I have the ability to do that because I have set my business up in such a way that I have money set aside for community service and providing for the community in times of need and disaster relief and disaster help and things of that nature. So just wanted to make sure that, I'm making that full circle, as far as providing for the business, providing for the community, and then providing for outreach for people in my immediate community, but also communities outside myself. That global thinking, that global perspective. What can I do to help in the world globally as far as my profession is concerned? How do I give back to the global community?
Got it.
So that's important as well.
We know that you approach veterinary medicine very humanistic, if you will, heart-led, all the things. And so, when you're thinking about bridging the gap between pet owners and proper care, what educational initiative has been most effective in helping your clients to better care for their animals?
So we post on our social media, which we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. We do fun TikToks, PVS Snellville. You can find us there. And a lot of times there are educational posts there talking about preventative vaccines, not shots, vaccines, and spaying and neutering and the importance of those preventative care items. We'll post that. We also talk about different things like when I'm treating certain diseases, we'll post things of that nature on there as well, just so you know what to look for in your pet. And that's probably one of the more important things that we do, one of the more important initiatives I take in bridging that gap when it comes to education and client education. Social media is one of the ways I do that. The other way I do that is in the room with the client. I have myself or my technician speaking with the client about preventative measures, or when it comes time to talk about, this is the stage of life that your pet is in, this is the condition that your pet has, let's talk about that, what that looks like, what treatment looks like, what the longevity in this treatment looks like, and making decisions on quality of life with you, helping you make that decision through education. I'm not here to make that decision for you.
So, what has been the most surprising difference between veterinary medicine and running a veterinary business?
Wow. So when you're in school for veterinary medicine, when you're in veterinary school, you're learning all the things. You're learning about how to practice medicine, you're learning about diagnosing, and you're learning about surgery and medications and pharmacology and all those things. And what they don't teach you is how to run a practice.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the most surprising things when you come out of veterinary school, is that shock in how to run a practice and what it takes to run a practice. And trying to bridge that gap. And I will say working for a corporate entity really helps bridge the gap in practicing medicine and practicing managing a practice. Because it's two different things. Learning how to practice medicine and learning what it takes to practice medicine are two different things. And one of the things that I like to talk to veterinarians but students that are in veterinary school, when they talk about, when I get out, I want to open my own practice. Yeah. It's never a discouraging thing. It's always, okay, you got to think about what it takes to run a practice.
Right.
Do you know how to manage people? Yeah. Because you can have all the medical knowledge and know-how, but if you don't know how to manage people, how to talk to people, how to persuade people to work with you and work for you, your practice is going to fold, because you can't do that by yourself, sweetheart.
Right.
It takes many people to run a practice, and learning how to manage people and talk to people and work with people. That big people part. Like, we got into vet, a lot of us get into vet med, and we get into vet med because we don't want that people part. But yeah, you have to work with other people in order to work with animals who have people attached to the other end of the leash. Yeah. And that's probably one of the most important things when it comes to practice management, is managing people.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot in corporate America, believe it or not, on how to manage people, and not necessarily, all the right ways to manage people. I've also learned what to not do when it comes to managing people. And it's valuable experience that I wouldn't take that away from my experience in veterinary medicine. I think I learned a lot on how to manage people. And a lot of it is thinking about how would you want somebody to treat you if you were in that position? And not only how you would want somebody to treat you, but it is what they're doing benefiting your practice in the long run. Is this behavior or this practice of what they're doing going to work for your practice in the long run? And learning when it's time to separate a person from your practice.
Right.
But be that a client, be that a paraprofessional or an employee.
Yeah.
Is this something sustainable for your practice? Again, it's my $2.
Yeah.
Is this worth my $2?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of those things that's not taught in vet school. The value of people, that commodity in your practice, that human commodity, the value of that. And once you realize how important people are in your practice, you manage your practice differently. You manage how you handle people in your practice, how you handle the client. You know, the old adage of the client is always right. They're not always right, sweetheart.
Right. Correct.
But it's how you manage them
To help them to get
them to get where you want them.
Yeah.
That makes the difference.
Absolutely. At Business in the Black, we are all about making sure that people understand what you know. And you've told us a lot about what you know. And I think it's really transferable. I don't know if we have a lot of veterinarians in the audience that want to open up a practice, but this business sense is transferable. You know, so many of the nuggets that you've dropped here today, I know are going to help people, if nothing but understanding that people, you know, whether it be managing them or taking care of them, is a really big part of success, the recipe for success related to business. So, you know, having navigated both corporate medicine, and I like to, like I say, you all know about me in veterinary medicine, but I like to make the distinction, as many veterinarians will for you, that they're not only animal doctors, they're medical doctors, because they have to understand the human body as well as the animal body. I thought she was going to say that at some point, but she didn't. So, but in any case, I have an immense amount of respect for, you know, veterinarians. And, you know, looking at managing or navigating both that corporate medicine piece and your private practice, what do you know now about entrepreneurship that you wish you had known when you first started?
When I first started,
whether it be when you first started your business or whether when you got the idea that you wanted to open up your own practice, because perhaps you had that in third grade because you didn't know that you could go into, you know, another area. You know, what do you wish you had known?
So I'm going to attack your first piece there. So I joke a lot about, and this is not belittling medical doctors at all, but in human medicine, they get to know one species, and the only difference they need to know is male or female. Mm-hmm. And in veterinary medicine, I get to know everything else. Yeah. Everything else falls under my umbrella. Cat, dog, rat, mouse, cow, horse, pig, whale. If an alien came here and they wanted this alien to be analyzed, they're going to grab a veterinarian. They're going to grab a veterinarian before they grab a human doctor, because I can extrapolate through different species better than human medicine can, because they only know the human body.
Right.
Sorry, medical doctors. As far as your second part, wow. So many things. Trying to narrow that down is monumental.
I mean, I'm Oprah. I keep trying to tell the people, I'm Oprah Winfrey.
Entrepreneurship in the veterinary field looks different in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And the only way I can break that down is your veterinarian is more than just cats and dogs. We are more than large animal medicine, the cows and the horses and the goats and the sheep. We are more than the zoo veterinarian. Veterinarians are in spaces and places that you would not imagine. A lot of the medications that we use in human medicine go through drug trials, and veterinarians are involved in that before they even make it to a human drug trial. They have to be used in certain ways, and that takes a veterinarian in order to do that. The food you eat every day that comes to your table, when it goes through a processing plant, a veterinarian is there for that. So we're in a lot of spaces that people are not aware of. CDC, veterinarians are there. And when I first wanted to become a veterinarian, that 8-year-old kid in 3rd grade that decided to become a veterinarian, I was in that small animal space. Right. And it wasn't until I started becoming educated and got in my career that I realized there are so many different spaces that veterinarians are involved in. But this was the space that spoke to me.
Right.
And a lot of times, you sit back and wonder, what would have been different had I gone into a different space, a different place? Had I gone into lab animal medicine? Had I gone into regulatory medicine, or any of the other things? Teaching. A lot of people have mentioned to me, "Oh, you should have been a teacher." Yeah. Maybe. But I feel that I entered into the arena of veterinary medicine where it was meant for me to be. This is where I excel. But that does not mean that I can't turn around and do something completely different tomorrow.
Right.
As far as entrepreneurship and where I am now, if you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be owning my own practice, I would have told you I'm completely happy in corporate America, and this is where I'm going to stay. But there's my plan, and then there's God's plan.
Yeah.
And so, where God leads me, when God opens a door, I don't ask why or how. I just say, okay, that's where you want me to go, God. That's where we're going, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah. So she had one more, wardrobe change for the road. I just want to really thank you for your willingness to, impart knowledge on the audience, on me, and your vulnerability and your transparency, and just, what you've brought to this podcast. I think this is an amazing episode. I think you've been amazing. I think that there will be so many things that people will be able to resonate with as they are listening to the podcast, whether it be today or 5 years from now or 3 years from now or whenever. And I hope that you have been benefited by sharing your story as us listeners have been to hear it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And if any of the viewers have any questions about anything, they can contact you and you can let me know, and I'd be happy to answer those questions offline. That's not a problem.
Absolutely. So you can find her, and she's gonna help you out, help your animal out, and love on you in the process. Thank you so much for joining us.
I just want to thank you guys for taking the time out to hear my story. You can find us on social media at PVS Snellville. We're on Instagram and TikTok. Like I said, we do some cute TikToks every now and then. If you'd like to schedule an appointment to come and see me, you can give us a call at 470-646-3240. And we are PetSmart Veterinary Service inside of the PetSmart in Snellville, Georgia. I look forward to talking to you guys and seeing you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Business in the Black, the go-to podcast for aspiring and established Black entrepreneurs looking to build, grow, and sustain successful businesses. Each episode dives into the inspiring journeys of Black-owned businesses, highlighting their triumphs, challenges, and lessons learned. You can find us on Facebook, TikTok, Bluesky, Spotify, and Apple at Business in the Black. Instagram, Business in the Black Pod, P-O-D. And our YouTube channel, Business in the Black Pod, no spaces. Please follow, like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thanks again for joining, and we look forward to seeing you next week.